Thank you, Mr. President. I don't think I need this thing. My grandson learned a very important life lesson this morning. Our guest speaker arrived at my house about 10 o'clock this morning, and when he came in, I fed him a cup of coffee, and he told me he had left Houston at 3:30 this morning, and he's going back this afternoon to Houston for a dinner date. Wow. Now, he didn't have to do that. He could have easily called me and said, Roy, I can't make it, but he didn't. He committed to the process, and I'm so thankful for that. Joe Rainey is one of the most impressive men I've ever met. He's one of Gilmer's absolute finest, one of his most successful, and it's a terrific honor for us to have him today as our program. So, Joe, you come and bless us, okay?
Thank you. Man, I tell you, that's quite a lead-in, boy. I don't think I can meet your expectation. I'll do my best. So, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for the invite. It's always good to be home. Now, I've got 2 or 3 slides on.
Excuse me, Joe. I'm sorry. You can take it off. You can walk around with it.
I've got 2 or 3 slides. Is that okay? On Halliburton. I've got 2 or 3 slides on kind of global oil market and rig count. All right, do this thing.
Thank you.
And then I've got 2 or 3 slides on the unconventional shale plays in the U.S., and specifically the Permian Basin, which today is the most active oil and gas area in the world, not only the U.S., but globally. So before I start though, I'm going to just tell you a little bit about myself, for those that don't know me. So I'm born and raised in Upshur County, product of the Gilmer High School system, of which Randy Duke is as well. First grade right through the 12th grade, graduate in 1975. My mom was Altabel, my dad was Ald. I grew up about a mile south of the Gilmer Airport, right across from the Dual Line facility today. Been with Halliburton 40 years as of April 2nd, and been 39 years overseas. And my wife and I, Michelle, and I have raised 3 kids overseas. But we've always considered, at least I always considered, Gilmer to be home. So let's start with a history of Halliburton, and I'll come back to that. So, started by Earl P. Halliburton in 1919, and his invention was a jet mixer that allowed us to mix cement rather with water, high pressure water, instead of a hose and dumping sacks in a tank. First oil well spinning job in the 1930s. We invented the fracturing process in the 40s, which today is instrumental in production in the U.S. and globally, and which Weston leads one of our crews out in West Texas today. First computer system in the oil and gas industry was introduced by us in the 60s. In 1986, we're the first company to work in mainland China. If you go to 1998, a game changer for us when we merged with the Dresser Industries, and that gave us our directional drilling capabilities, our measurement while logging capabilities, and really changed the game for us. That's branded under our Sperry product line. Also gave us the Baroid fluids or mud systems, and our DBS drill bit technology. And then in 2006, we organized in 2 hemispheres, the Eastern Hemisphere, which I lead, and the Western Hemisphere, which Jim Brown, based out of Denver, Colorado, leads. So my area of expertise is this area here. All right. So 1919 is when we were founded, and an interesting factoid is if you take 5% or less of the Fortune 500 companies, they're 100 years old. There's less than 100, or 100 years old or older. So if we make it 1 more year, we'll be in that group of companies. 50,000 plus people today, which we operate in 70 countries. There's 140 nationalities today, plus or minus, changes a little bit every year. And we have 15 global research centers, and those are the ones with the technology centers. And look, Duncan, Oklahoma, Houston, Carrollton, Texas, Pune, India, Dhahran, Saudi Arabia, Singapore, just to name a few. And what those facilities do is they give us access to our clients. We like to have those facilities close to our clients and to work with them to develop our technology. And it also gives us a much broader pool of people to pull from. I don't believe it'll surprise anyone here that a lot of smart people in the world, not just US based, so that pool of people is very influential in our business. And our corporate headquarters is in Houston, led by Jeff Miller, our CEO, who I report to. Now, if you look at the global market, nobody here is surprised, or everybody here knows about the downturn in the market. So in 2012 or 13, our clients spent about $250 to $300 billion on capital, on major project expenditure. You can see in 2015, 14, 15, dropped off to $100 billion. Big number, but significant reduction. We went from 80,000 people down to 48,000 or so. Huge impact to our industry. Good thing is capital spending is coming back. Not quickly, but slowly. That's good news for us. I was talking to Danny today, and I think you see that in the banking industry here. And that's good. This one here is the supply and demand on oil. So in 2015, you see that the red bar is demand. The gray bar is supply. This line here is surplus. So in 2015, we had 2 million barrels of oil excess to demand globally. Today, we have pretty close to a balance. We're about 600,000 or 800,000 barrels demand, or supply over demand, which quite frankly, that's not very much. You know, if you have a major political unrest situation somewhere, that goes away pretty quickly. And you can see it gets lower, there's less supply as we go forward. So that'll mean that activity, capital spends are coming back, drilling activities coming back, etc. I believe that's what we're seeing today. Global rig count, direct reflection of that capital spend. I won't spend any time on it other than to say that in the Eastern Hemisphere, which I handle, we went down about 30%. But the U.S., for instance, went down from 2,000 rigs to about 450 at the bottom. Now today, the U.S. rig count is around 1,300. So it's come back a long way. And the U.S. is a major swing producer for us. It can go up, it can go down quickly, it can go up quickly. Really comes from a couple of different points. Is we have infrastructure, when it goes back up, roads, railways, power generation, banking facilities, where the business can grow quickly. But when we need to slow down, it can slow down quickly. That's what the ups and downs are. They're hard when they're going down, good when they're going up. Internationally, we're more of a steady roll, longer cycles, but still tough. So here's the oil price, history of the oil price. And by the way, this is all public information. I'm not giving you anything that's confidential. It's already been published somewhere. So everybody knows a drop. Today, fortunately, you're on the upside. Went down 35 or 40. I don't know what it is today in West Texas, but I suspect it's around 60, 63. Thank you, Tom. So that looks like a big okay. you know, it drives a lot of, most activity in the U.S. is profitable at this range. Matter of fact, a lot lower than this. But globally, it has to be in that range. I thought it might be interesting to you to see where the big producers are globally. So the U.S., we're above 10 million barrels a day. Russia's a little bit more. China around 4 million barrels a day. And then Saudi Arabia about what we are. Now these red lines, these red bars, are OPEC. OPEC, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, United Arab Emirates, Nigeria, Qatar, Gabon, etc., Venezuela. I believe there's 13 countries in OPEC. Now, they're an influential organization today, and they're not going away. If you look at global production, they produce about, I think, 40% of the global oil production today, and about 20% of global gas production. But when you look at reserves, OPEC is about 4/5 of the global oil reserves. And they're about 40% of the global gas reserves. So that doesn't mean we go out of business anytime, but the last people producing will be these guys. So we're going to need good relationships for a long time with them. Might be interested in Norway, big producer, 1.7 million barrels a day. Venezuela, about 1.6 million a day. Nigeria, somewhere in that range as well. I believe Brazil is around 2.6 or 3. So there's a lot of countries outside of OPEC that have big numbers as well. Now, I may have to get Weston up here to help me with this. This isn't my expertise, actually. It's the shale, unconventional shale plays in the U.S. You know, that's what's driven our industry here in the U.S. in the last few years. And shale has always been in the wells we drill. We've always drilled through it to the reservoirs we want to produce. The difference is, in the late 1990s, we changed the drilling practices. And really, there's 2 points. It's horizontal drilling. That's the biggest change. So used to, we drilled a vertical well. We could perforate or poke a hole in that shale play, but it's so tight, you couldn't produce it commercially. But when you go horizontal, when that technology came out, that you can come out, go down, kick off, go horizontal, geosteer, stay within that reservoir as long as you could in the sweet spot, and then come back and fracture different places along that lateral, like here, 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 or as many places as you desire to, you're able to produce it. And fracturing, I expect you know what it is, but I'll tell you. So shale is very hard. It's very brittle as well. So we, or the industry, pumps water, or water fluids down the well, under pressure, fractures that formation, cracks it. Just like maybe a windshield. You hit a windshield, how it fracture? Same principle here. It'll fracture, and then we inject sand into those fractures to keep it open, keep the fracture open, to make a flow path for that production. Huge business here in the U.S. I guess as well, you guys know Haynesville. Haynesville's close to us, not here though. Eagle Ford, Permian, the Marcellus, the Utica. I think that's the Niobrara there, and the Bakken. Those are the main unconventional reservoirs today. I thought it might be interesting to show the service and activity intensity in the Permian Basin. It happens to be the most active in the world today, as I said, and you can see here kind of the growth of it. So from 2016 to what we predict in 2018, there's 158% monthly average rig count increase. You go to number of wells, 216% increase in the last 3 years. And you go to the lateral footage, how many feet we drill horizontally. 346% increase. In 15 or 16, the market available to a Halliburton or a Schlumberger, or the people that are our competitors in the Permian Basin alone, was $8 billion. Today, that business is $16 billion available. Now, we don't have all that, we got a share of it, but that's what's available. A couple of different changes as well. There are other things that changed. If you look at the rigs, half the U.S. rigs, plus or minus, not quite, 450 rigs out of 1,300 are based here. 3 years ago, we had 2,000 rigs in the market. Today, we have 1,300, 1,330, I believe. Those rigs are a lot more efficient. The service company is a lot more efficient. So for every well we could drill in 2015, a rig now drills 2 wells in the same time. Used to, in 2015, we pumped 3 or 4 million tons of sand per well in the fracture process. Today, on average, we pump 20 million pounds, plus or minus. So the market really changed. This shale type business is here to stay. It's successful. At the market we're in, we expect it to continue to grow. I think that's going to be it. So I hope that was interesting. Any questions? Let me start at the back.
The Eagle Ford shale in South Texas, is it not doing near what they first thought it was going to do?
I don't know the answer to that, but I would say, just from what I know about the industry, the Permian is more attractive because of the number of lenses it has. So the Permian has more stacked plays, right? So I suspect that's the reason that the Permian is more active today. Yeah. Somebody have one there? Yes.
So we all know about global warming, but I want to know about the fracturing process and the earthquake activity. Is there any relationship to that?
Don't know. I don't have any idea on that. You read the same articles I do. I really couldn't comment on it.
Yeah, what talks the outlook for natural gas prices?
Well, if I knew, I couldn't say. Okay? But I don't know. And quite frankly, there's a lot of gas. I think the good thing is, today we're going to have new markets for the gas. You know, they're building LNG plants on the Gulf Coast. We're able to export LNG. We're able to export crude today. That just has to be a plus for the U.S. market.
Also too, I mean, with all the additional capacity coming online in the Gulf and like your polymers, you know, you got an extra, 5.5 million pounds worth of polymer production coming on in the Gulf, which is using a lot of.
So they're going to use a lot. Yeah, that's correct. But globally, there's a lot of competition as well. Everybody's adding that capacity because they want to use their crude to increase the value of their product, right? That refined product brings more. Yeah. Who got that? David.
You know, it's one thing to get a promotion in business, you know, every now and then.
Right.
It's another thing to stay with the company for 40 years, ground floor, all the way up, the president of the Eastern Hemisphere. I mean, there's a lot of steps. I just got to imagine that a guy doesn't bounce from 1 or 2 promotions up to the president of Eastern Hemisphere of one of the largest global companies. My question is, what do you think, Joe, helped prepare you early on in life? I mean, it doesn't happen because you got a smile or anything like that.
Well, I am good looking.
It's true. But what would you say contributed early on for your success you've had with Halliburton?
Yeah, good question, Dave. So, I started pretty high in the organization. I didn't start at the bottom. I started as a truck driver. So I was pretty high. I thought that was the best job I ever had at the time. And every job I had from that point, I thought was the best job I ever had. Look, I think it just comes from focus. Look, we had good parents, taught us right things. Gilmer school system reinforced that. And quite frankly, I'm not unique in our industry. I'm not unique in Halliburton. I may be the only one on the executive team without a college degree, but there's a lot of guys that are right there with us that just from hard work, focus, and as I tell young people, going where the company tells you, or going where the company asks you to go, but understand we're telling you to go there. You have a choice, and you go where we tell you, and do the jobs we want you to do, but really it comes from this background, right? Do you have what it takes or not? And that comes from early development. Anybody here can do what I do, quite frankly. Yeah. What's next?
Let me tell you on what David said. And the answer to your question is, he has a work ethic that is incredible. And that, getting up at 3:30 this morning from Houston and driving here and then going back tonight, but he also sleeps 4 hours a night. So he works his butt off. And so that's the success story right
Got
there.
paid from y'all, got a wife, and she likes to spend money, so.
That does help, doesn't it? Yeah.
So is there any other questions?
Yeah.
Look, I love staying, I really thank you guys for inviting me today. Roy, thank you very much. I know a number of you are here. Steve, you got a question?
So when you go to the office in the morning, where do you go?
So we're currently based in Dubai, United Arab Emirates. We've been there, I've been in this job 8 years. My wife and I live there. But as I told Roy this morning, I travel most of the time. I don't think I mentioned to him, but I travel, or I'm in my house in Dubai 4 or 5 days a month. The rest of the time I'm somewhere else. And wherever we have that office or wherever a client's office is, or wherever I spend a lot of time in the field visiting people in the field, wherever that is, I've got my cell phone, I've got my computer, I can work basically from anywhere. And my assistant, she plans my days and tells me where I need to be and who I need to talk to and what I need to do. So it really doesn't matter where I'm based at. Yeah. I'll be in Houston tonight, and I'll be in Kuwait on Monday morning. Yeah. Anything else?
Well, I have one.
All right.
Well, you've got about 10 or 12 more minutes, so we'd just like to hear kind of just a snapshot of what you do. I mean, what's your day like? What's your week like? And where do you go? Who do you see?
All right, so as I said, I'm president of the Eastern Hemisphere. Jim Brown's the Western Hemisphere. We report to Jeff Miller. There's 9 of us on the executive team of Halliburton. There's 1 female, if anybody's interested in knowing that. So we're not, we're not as diverse as we'd like to be, but there's 9 of us there. I split my time kind of equally between spending time with clients, where I talk to their executives and or operational people, depends on what kind of problems or opportunity there is. A lot of my time spent with national oil companies like Aramco or Kuwait Oil Company or Petronas. But I also spend time with Exxon and Chevron and the IOCs as well. I try to spend 4 to 5 days a month on a drilling rig or a location somewhere in the world every month. Sometimes I make it, sometimes I don't. It kind of depends. My responsibilities are financial, profit and loss for the Eastern Hemisphere, strategy for growth in the Eastern Hemisphere, and the health and safety and security of our people and those that surround us. So that's why I kind of focus my activity on. The rest of the time I spend it, if I'm not with clients, I try to spend it with our employees. And I love spending time with my employees. And I say that because, hey, the Western Browns, they're the future, right? If I can guide them along and help them along, it's fantastic for our company. Because we compete. Quite frankly, we compete. Schlumberger is a $90 billion market cap company, plus or minus. we're a 41 billion market cap company, so they're twice as big as we are. We're still pretty big. You know, if you take Weatherford, they're a $2 or $3 billion market cap company. So we really work hard to compete and try to win business. That's what I get paid to do, is win business and make it holler as I do. You know, I was telling Weston today, if you want to know the rest of my month, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Madrid, Spain, I'll be in St. Repsol here at the end of the month. And then I'm going to be fishing, tarpon fishing, here in about 6 weeks. And then I'm going to be hunting on my own nickel in Zimbabwe in about 8 weeks. So I'm looking forward to that.
Tough life.
Yeah,
That's a tough life.
Now look, when I'm here, when I'm in Gilmer, I have a little property outside of town here, and I try to go out there and spend as much time as I can on that. And got a few cattle, and just, you know, people ask me, can they hunt or can they lease it? I'm not interested. Because when I go out there, I just want to go out there and do what I want to do. And I only get to do that for a couple hours a month, but I drive through fast and see it all. And really, I see it. I don't really have anything else. Any other questions?
I
Okay.
have one.
All right, come on, Steve.
Can you use desert sand to frack with?
That's a good question. And it always comes up. You know, when we're trying, so fracturing is really a U.S. business, right? Most of the fracturing, 90% of that's done in the U.S. But in countries like Saudi Arabia and Oman, fracturing is a pretty big business there relative to the size of the business, but not compared to here. And the first question I ask is, why do you have to import sand? We got lots of sand. It's not the right kind. It's not the right crush strength, the right particle size. Now, the good thing is we spend a lot of time trying to find that sand, because sand is expensive to ship, right? That's where the cost is. So we spend a lot of time, but it really comes down to today, most of the international business is high pressure, high temp. So the crush strength of that sand that's available locally is not adequate. Here in the U.S. you find, you know, pressures are lower generally, and you can make it work. But international is pretty tough. And we use a lot of man-made product in ceramics. Some sand, but not much.
So where do you find the sand in America? Where does it come from?
Come on, Weston.
A lot of it's up north. You got Brady sand and Ottawa white, and then they're working on right now opening up a lot of sand mines in West Texas and trying out some more local stuff there that a little bit cheaper and maybe not as high quality, but some of the producers out there feel that they can get away with using it. So that's going to be it.
So the glacial sand comes from the north, Wisconsin, that part of the country, so white sands. Really beautiful sand. For a long time, that's all anybody wanted to use because it's nice and clean looking. The brown sands, which you find down this part of the country, they're not as white, they're brown. They don't have that high, they don't have the same crush strength, but money talks. And if you can find a sand mine, a lot of them out in West Texas today, there's one down here at Carthage, I believe. You know, logistics is a big factor. So people are willing to sacrifice some of that quality just to get a lower cost product, right? And it's a big business.
What about the resin coating?
Resin will improve the strength of the sand. We coat sand in certain places, but and there's a use for it. But a lot of places, it doesn't get you the crush strength you require, and also it's expensive to do. Depends on where you're at, how much you can do. Like anything else, if you can do enough of it, you get the cost down. But internationally, that's pretty hard to do.
Okay,
Anything else, Roy?
that's it. Unless you guys have other questions, you better take advantage of them.
All right, got David here.
Within Halliburton logistics, you know, what percentage is logistics for Halliburton?
You mean as far as cost?
Yeah, just percentage wise.
I don't know that number. If I did, I wouldn't tell you because I don't want my competition to see that. But it's a
We
big
bring that
number.
stuff all the way out of Oregon, Illinois, and
Right.
what
That's
he was
right.
talking about.
That's right. I mean, we have I don't know, we have a number of rail cars, a big number that we own, that, and we rent a number of those, obviously, but, yeah, it's a big number, I don't know what it is, I'd be hesitant to share it with you, yeah. What else?
I learned from Weston and Bryan that it's an expensive operation. If you've got 18 of those machines that cost $1 million each, and if they're not running, things break down, if they're not serviced properly or used properly, that's a killer, so.
So Roy, if you can buy them for $1 million each, we're gonna put you.
Oh, it's a bargain price.
We're gonna put you in business.
Sorry.
All right, guys, I really appreciate it. I hope that's
Hey, Joe.
useful to you.
We appreciate you, man.